everybody. A big fat doobie-doob to you all for checking it out. KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo, 701-478-4959. We are snuggled up to the top of the hour here. Thank you for checking us out. Side stage with Trav 1 to 3 every stinking Thursday. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson comes in directly after that, 4 to 5. 4:20, I open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday is no different. Again, thanks for checking us out. It's a beautiful day here in Fargo. RadioFreeFargo.org is streaming online wherever you want and wherever you need and wherever you are. And again, if you want to donate, I think there's a section on there you can do that. And again, when we talk about cannabis legalization, cannabis in a positive light, and I'm excited to get to that at 4:20. We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, I could talk probably maybe 67 minutes today, but we're going to keep it down to less than that. This show here is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, blackcottagealchemy.com, or you can just jump right downtown here, Tochi Products. Slide right in there. They got the colloidal silver. There's candles there, too. The body butter. Again, I ain't heard anybody that doesn't like it and doesn't get more of it. And so thank you for sponsoring the show to Black Cottage Alchemy. Again, when you're in Tochi Products, picking up some of Black Cottage Alchemy products, there's also the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition, the only petition or any movement that's moving towards cannabis legalization currently in the state of North Dakota. And there's a petition in there you can sign. Orange Records downtown also has a petition that you can sign. And I believe there may be some bracelets that you could have as well. Again, IndieCannabisCaucus.com. You can check out in your town where you can sign. There are other places in Fargo. I'm just not hip to all of them. I just do know that, Black Cottage Alchemy, the sponsor of this show, has products, coincidentally, and Tochi Products, where the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition is. Now, cooking right along. Today, October 28th, benefit for us, 95.9 LPFM. Featuring Friday Night Frequency Session, DJ Star 4, DJ Kalo P, John Potter, Andy Lights, Iktomi, 21 Plus, The Fishbowl, a.k.a. The Aquarium, 226 North Broadway, Fargo, North Dakota. Free will donation to KRFF, costumes encouraged. RadioFreeFargo.org, AquariumFargo.com. The Aquarium, Let's Dance, Friday Night Frequency Session. DJs are putting on a benefit for our favorite radio community radio station, that's us. Come on out, enjoy a wonderful evening of music and dancing. So that's tonight, stinking 9 p.m. at the Aquarium. So support local music, support local radio, and come on down and get your jams on. But until then, we're going to talk about cannabis in a positive light, cannabis legalization. Canna-Talk ND on Instagram will tell you when this show, minus the music, comes on YouTube. Because I don't know if I had said this, but I decided to become closer, spend more time with God, I guess, is what I was doing. But I'm kind of, I'm kind of like I have an addictive personality, which might come through with this show. And I found Facebook was sucking a lot of my time up. It was the first thing I checked in the morning. And 2 weeks ago, I deleted all of my accounts. So there is no more Canna-Talk ND on Facebook. It's just Canna-Talk ND on Instagram. And the YouTube page, of course. And then, of course, every Thursday here at KRFF 95.9, Moorhead, Fargo, you can come on through, and I'll be talking about cannabis in a positive light. Unless, I get my leg cut off. And even then, if they can stick the foot, maybe just duct tape the shoe to my knee, I'll be in here. So just come on through here. RadioFreeFargo.org. Again, it's streaming. And right after me is Stinky Arts Music Mart. And then it's Locals on the 8, Radio Madness, and Black Ring Ritual. Now I got that line up right. Because I was sitting there looking, and I've been saying Radio Madness before Locals on the 8, so I apologize to those guys for switching it around. But again, it's never going to happen again. Now, I believe cannabis was made by our Creator, God Himself. And I go to Antioch Church every Sunday, 10 a.m. to give Him props. Anybody else wants to do that too, the invite's already open. Always open. Resin soaked seatbelt. I'm putting on. Everybody else should too. It's 420 degrees here in the studio. I'm dressed appropriately. I hope everybody else is. Again, it's a beautiful day here at KRFF 95.9 downtown Fargo. Now I got brand new Alan Stone. He's gonna do Is This Love. He's kind of a soul dude. He's kind of like a white Teddy. Here comes Is This Love? KRFF. Oh, yeah, Alan Stone, y'all. Is This Love? From the album Apart, 2021, here on KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Radio Free Fargo.org, the best independent radio station in the world, if you ask me. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday in here with you. We're going to talk about cannabis in a positive light, the benefits of cannabis legalization in towns and states, in tunnels. And that last one might not be real. But again, thanks for joining me here. This hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Carmine and Hayworth. Carmine and Hayworth offers vintage clothing and novelty items for those who love the thrill of all things different. They're not just a vintage shop, but a community and experience. Carmine and Hayworth is located at 616 Main Avenue in Fargo. Find them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit their website at carmineandhayworth.com. Indie for Freedom, a Cannabis Act petition, again, is being circulated. Orange Records, Tochi Products. You can go in there and sign it. 21 plus to possess, 12 plants, 6 mature, 6 non. Licensed business, and where smoking is allowed. Just wanted to get that out of there. And 420, we'll talk about cannabis in a positive light again. I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. South Dakota we're going to get into. We got, of course, the Halloween. You know, it almost seems like the urban legend, you know, has to come back. So even as ridiculous as it sounds, we've got a lot of attorney generals in different states coming out with ridiculous things to say about watching out for, you know, the Weedos instead of Doritos, and I just made that up. And then I seen, what did I see? Oh, the Stonios instead of Oreos, which I don't think that guy was, you know, inspired enough, if you ask me, because that was pretty lame. And any cannabis use related, you know, metaphors are way cooler than that. And I mean, Stonios, come on, that ain't nowhere near Oreos. You know, just saying. But anyway, we're going to get into the next music here is going to be a little more spooky. So I kind of like quietly sedated you into this chill Zen vibe, but I'm going to start throat punching you here because it's Halloween coming up. And again, let me mention that Radio Free Fargo presents Skin of Our Teeth, Gypsy Wizard Queen. Now, I don't know if that's 3 bands or 1 band, because the Gypsy Wizard Queen, you know what I mean? Could be one thing. November 19th, again at the Aquarium, a.k.a. Fishbowl, 8 p.m. doors, 8:30 show, 21 plus. End It All going to be there, too. Again, Radio Free Fargo presents, that's us, Skin of Our Teeth, $5, Gypsy Wizard Queen, End It All. November 19th, the Aquarium, a.k.a. Fishbowl. For you hipsters, $8 doors, 8:30 show, 21 plus here on KRFF 95.9. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me. We're going to talk about cannabis here at 420. And then after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart 5 to 6, 6 to 7, locals on the 8, Radio Madness, then Black Ring Ritual wraps up your fabulous Thursday here on independent radio for the masses. Now, here is Dead and Bloated, my man Stone Temple. Happy Halloween. Oh boy, Dead and Bloated. Happy Halloween, everybody. Stone Temple Pilots. That's from 1992. That's the year I went off the rails. Well, maybe I was already off the rails, but man, 1992 for y'all that are in them 40, 50 ages, that was a pretty good time. You are listening to KRFF 95.9. RadioFreeFargo.org is streaming wherever you are. You can listen to this, take it with you. Right before me was Side Stage with Trav, 1 to 3. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me. 4 to 5, 420 mere minutes. We're going to talk about cannabis in a positive light, so stick with me for that. Right after this, Stinky Arts Music Mart, locals on the 8, Radio Madness, Black Ring Ritual, and that's what's happening on Thursdays. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on YouTube, usually Sunday or Monday. You can go to Instagram, Canna-Talk ND, and I will update that because apparently, you know, I wanted to be better than everybody else and deleted my Facebook accounts. I mean, the first day I checked it probably 60 times, and it was like, you got to log in. 60 times, I think. I mean, it was just something that I did, and I couldn't believe that I did it so much, because there's got to be better things for me personally that I could be doing, because, again, I always use the idiom, I believe that's the right word, if you give a mouse some cheese, he's going to want some wine. And if you give the mouse some wine, he's going to want somewhere to lay down. And if you give the mouse somewhere to lay down, he's going to want a roof above that place he's laying down. You see what I'm saying? And then you give him the roof to lay down, and then he wants a couple lines of meth to go with his cheese. So I'm trying to circumvent my potential roadblocks in getting ahead, and I felt like Facebook might be that thing. Now, I don't want to bore you anymore. So why don't we get this show going? It's about that time. Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. On the other side of this, it's 420. You card holders, get some ice, put it in the cylinder. A gurgly right around the corner.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. You know, the super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. Again, thanks for joining me. Hey, the one guy brought a lawn chair this time. See, now that's the guy he's thinking. Everybody else standing around listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, I mean, bring a lawn chair next time. You got to be comfortable. But anyway, I've started almost right at 420, which is good news for everybody. And again, welcome. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition. If you haven't signed it, Downtown Orange Records, Tochi Products. It's the only legalization measure being pushed. We'll talk about South Dakota here in a minute. Boy, it's really interesting. I mean, South Dakota, they're putting the screws on, and they're even saying words like, and I don't know if I like this, right? When you start hearing regulate, we can't regulate this stuff. I mean, I feel like regulation is what got us into, the trouble. Like, that guy, I think maybe he's got more property than he started out with. We should maybe regulate his yard. Like, maybe if we measured it, and then that would be the only part he could have. It's like, well, this is America, home of the brave. I mean, I got here first. This is my land. Whose land was it? Was it the government's land? Whose land is it? The regulations seem, and again, people say, well, we need order, you can't just like everybody just growing apples. Well, why not? I mean, and personally, I feel cannabis would self-regulate itself. I mean, I know it does internally. So, I don't know what I'm talking about now, but we're going to talk about cannabis positive light. We're going to get into this cannabis moment here. We're going to get started. Italian activists turn in more than 500,000 signatures for cannabis and psilocybin. They 630,000 signatures for a referendum to legalize cannabis. This is kind of interesting. It was filed in September. The Reform Campaign has now submitted more than 500,000 signatures. They hope will qualify the measure to go before the nation's voters early 2022. Part of the reason they were able to gather that volume was because they were allowed to collect signatures online instead of in person only. So, I mean, if that's the difference, right? If, and I hate saying this, but it seems like if 500,000 people are too lazy to go somewhere and vote, but they can vote online, then they have to agree with cannabis being legalized. They're just lazy, so the vote would still count, at least the desire or the need and the want of the people would be more obvious, and you would get that obviousness quicker, so bravo to them. The latter court will look into whether the measure would conflict with the Constitution. Of course, they will. The country's fiscal system or international treaties to which Italy is a party. Advocates are confident that they limited the scope of the proposed reform enough to meet the legal standard, and every advocate that's ever been quoted as saying it has been confident that they limited the scope of the proposed reform, and almost every stinking proposed measure has went through scrutiny that I believe was unnecessary and, almost pernicious, if I might say. Marco Paducah, president of the referendum committee, he told Cannabis Moment that the speed which activists were able to collect so many signatures confirms that cannabis is extremely popular in Italy and that people are fed up with criminal sanctions for actions that do not harm anybody. And again, that's what I'm saying. You allowed it to be online so they didn't have to get out of bed. The voting isn't as cut and dry. Same thing with polls. Polls are as linear as you want them to be. You know, you poll old people and you ask them, what do you like better? You know, Fixodent or crack? You know, they're going to say Fixodent. You know what I'm saying? And that was probably a poor example because who knows? I don't know how many old people are into crack. Maybe a few of them. Maybe 3%. So anyway, the referendum is one step in a long march, started many years ago, and good for them. The measure is fairly unique compared to U.S. ballot initiatives. The Italian proposal would fully end the criminalization of growing cannabis, but it would maintain a current decrim fine on possessing and using it. Now just wrap your foggy brain around that. It's going to be legal to grow it, but you can't have it and you can't use it. I mean, a national referendum can only eliminate parts of a law, so we had to find the best possible way to take away what could have been taken away. Without the measure becoming too complicated and risky, its invalidation by the courts. Now, the fine will be applicable. But in the new scenario, of course, the priority of pursuing a conduct that is the result of a legal act will diminish. He said, arguing that police would be strongly disincentivized to go after people who possess cannabis that they legally grow. Under the proposal, however, drug processing would also remain criminalized, and that means things like hashish would continue to be prohibited because it takes a degree of manufacturing to create the product. So that's pretty crazy, isn't it? I mean, you can grow it, but you can't do it, and you can't possess it. Cannabis moment also, New Jersey governor open-minded to allowing cannabis home grow. A state works to implement legalization, which is kind of the opposite of what a lot of these people are attempting. I mean, because if legislators can change that home grow after people vote it, and then you'll see this later in South Dakota, boy, that's the first thing they go for. So anyway, the governor of New Jersey says he's open to giving adults the right to cultivate cannabis for personal use. The state is still in process of implementing legalization following voter approval. Reform last November. See, none of this stuff ever goes, and home cultivation is not currently permitted under the conforming legislation. Now, Murphy said in an interview that he's not sure there's a good answer as to why the state still criminalizes rec consumers or medical cannabis patients who grow their own, and that he's open-minded to considering adjusting the policy. Shout out Phil Murphy. The remarks were first noted by Heady, New Jersey, whatever that means. That's not to say that I think we're not going to have a really good smart regime under the program. He said regulators are putting a world-class industry together. I'm really impressed by it. Now, they, of course, are going to have to say really impressed by it. It doesn't mean that it's impressive. This is just political blah, 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 speak. You know, this don't mean nothing. It really don't. If anything, he's impressed because there's no loopholes that anybody can exploit. If he's impressed by it, it means this regulation is locked up tight. There's no holes. You know, ain't nobody getting it. They don't want getting it. And again, here's this word regulator again. Regulators are putting a world-class industry together. Okay, let me tell you what I thought a regulator meant. Back in the day when I was a heavily drug-addicted guy, I liked to be like the middleman. All right? That's just it. And it's been so long ago. You know what I mean? These are stories. But anyway, if you didn't pay or you were shady in any way that inflicted some sort of tarnishing on said business, or if it just brought risk of jail into the scene, it would be the priority and the severity would be determined, and then a regulator would be called in. Or maybe he would just walk in. But a regulator would regulate, just like the song, the Warren G song. Something, had to be regulated. And that was the word used. But that's violent. That's horrible. And boy, oh boy, it'd be nice if that wasn't required. You know what I mean? That there wasn't shady people who would take advantage and then other people that would be forced to violence because they're in some black markety shadery. To be using regulators, or like the wolf man in Reservoir Dogs. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like the word. The word just sounds horrible to me, and it sounds like somebody else is doing the regulating, and I'm not. Personal freedoms, regulate yourself. So I don't like these. And who are these regulators that are putting a world-class industry together? I don't know. I think the theme of this show should be, we don't want any regulators in our town. I just made that up. But there are homegrown bills for both medical and rec cannabis that have been introduced in the legislature in New Jersey, but they haven't advanced. Again, equity is right at the center of it, the governor said. but there was a lot of legitimate interest in allowing in some form or fashion home grow, and I would just say I'd be open-minded to that discussion. So that's cool. Let's keep cruising along here. What do we got here? Well, let's talk about this. This is from MJ Biz Daily, and that's another thing. After deleting my Facebook account, I've been having to acquire different articles and stuff to keep this news thing going. But I still make sure that it's no older than a week ago Thursday. Curaleaf cannabis store workers unionize in Worth, Illinois. Let's give those cannabis store workers who are unionizing in Worth, Illinois, a hand. Workers at Curaleaf Holdings cannabis dispensary in Worth, Illinois, are joining the United Food and Commercial Workers after a yes vote in a union election. Local 881 of the UFCW said multi-state operator Curaleaf operates 10 dispensaries in Illinois, getting that tax dollars, according to the local union's news release. Union organizing in the cannabis industry has increased during the pandemic amid employee anxiety and its concerns rise over workplace health and safety, as well as demands for higher wages and benefits. According to Local 881's news release, Curaleaf's Worth dispensary employees cited issues such as inadequate wages, scheduling, lack of benefits, and the need for more protection. The National Labor Relations Board is expected to certify the results in 7 days, barring objections. Illinois welcomed the cannabis industry with open arms, and the larger companies like Curaleaf are clearly reaping all the benefits and posting major revenue gains. And I would argue that Curaleaf are some of these businesses that were shutting down Delta 8, even in Colorado, because they weren't able to maximize the profits, and so they spun that it wasn't being regulated properly. There's that word again, and so they planted the seed of doubt, like you don't know what you're getting if you don't go through this process. Now, there's some truth to that, but I mean, just imagine all the people that were eating acid back in the day. I mean, some of them didn't make it. Some of them still have spinny eyes, and they're like, whoa. But personally, there was a shelf life on acid. You could only take so many unless you were a freak. And then you just get bored of it because just like Stone Temple Pilots says, too much tripping and my soul's worn thin. And that's kind of what happens. So I don't know what I'm talking about here. But Curaleaf is definitely, in my opinion, kind of like what Philip Morris would be in our society when it comes to, corporate, strong-arming. It's clear now that the companies need to be held accountable for how they operate and, more importantly, how they treat their workers. Curaleaf shares trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and they do over-the-counter markets as Curaleaf. So there you go. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. It's the Thursday before Halloween. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. This is from the Daily Voice, I'm sorry. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4:20. Open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what's happening. This would be my second Halloween or third Halloween. I think it might be my third Halloween-y here because I'm going into my second year, and I started in October of 2 years ago. So I don't know. Maybe this is the second Halloween. I don't know what that means, but every Halloween we talk about it. Would anyone really give your trick-or-treater cannabis edibles? And everybody that's, I guess, just not a square or just understands cannabis and understands the value of edibles, because certainly you don't just make candy. Candy doesn't just get made. 1985, those brownies, in 1985 to 90, we'll say, unless you were Ken Kesey's cousin, you were just taking cannabis and shoving it in a brownie mix and saying, hey, this is it. I remember the first time I ate a legit brownie up in the mountains outside Seattle there, Issaquah Falls to be exact, on a New Year's Eve, right before I played like 9 hours of the Oregon Trail board game. However, it was the first time that I tried a brownie that tasted like a stupid brownie. It was warm, came with a cold glass of milk. Man, I thought we'd made it. But even still, that guy was an acquired artist. It took living up in the hills or up in the mountains by himself to do something like that. I remember he didn't even have a TV. So you don't just make cannabis edibles to give away. Just think you make the candy the regular way, and then add another $100 per serving or so. Halloween 2021 is bringing the usual nationwide warnings from authorities to be on the lookout for nefarious strangers giving kids cannabis edibles that look like candy. But how much of it's based on reality and how much is fear-mongering? I think it's like people in charge like to think that they know what's good for people before, or they're like, oh, that we're going to protect you. So make sure, people, I just want to let you guys know, in case you weren't aware, that your kids may bring home a $300 bag of cannabis edibles, and make sure you're looking out for them. I'm just doing you guys a solid because I'm your public official, and I'm just telling you guys you can be safe with me. And I just wanted to give you the heads up. If it says Dippin' Pots instead of Dippin' Dots, then you better take it and bring it to us at the cop shop. I mean, and we'll read, none of that's ever really happened. And like director Eric Altieri of NORML, he said you're more likely to summon Beetlejuice by saying his name 3 times than you are to find cannabis edibles in your children's Halloween candy. This myth reanimates itself year after year like a zombie from a Romero film, and also like those zombies is a work of pure fiction. No one is trying to spend hundreds of dollars to give cannabis to children, and officials should finally give up on trying to spook them. But here's a little whatever. Apples with razor blades and countless other heinous plots have been the stuff of TV news and online news media fluff. These also include reports of drug-laced lollipops in 2000, ecstasy-tainted candy in 2015, and heroin masquerading as sweet tarts 2 years ago. Man, could you imagine thinking you're going to pop a couple sweet tarts and you chewed into a little bit of black tar heroin? Whoa, man. Especially if you'd never done it before. I mean, you'd have no idea. I mean, you'd be like, what? These sweet tarts are banging. 10 years ago, panic spread amid rumors that a Middle Eastern man had bought 15 G's worth of candy at Costco's in Hackensack and Wayne. The FBI was called in. News reports followed. People freaked. Hackensack police captain told a local news editor that concerned parents, not to mention national and international media. Even Mike Huckabee, then the governor of Arkansas, suggested trick-or-treaters stay home because anxious parents could bury police and request to examine candy. It turned out the villain was a flea market vendor who bought the sweets in bulk so he could make money reselling them individually, which is exactly what a flea market vendor does. He wanted to make a killing at Halloween, although not the kind fearmongers predicted. Snopes picked up the story from the Bergen Record. It also researched cases from every Halloween since then and found no reports of trick-or-treaters accidentally eating cannabis. So children are not at risk, and we all know that. People think they're funny and they're going to put them in Halloween bags and not realize you could have a child now that could have a reaction to it. Here's New York Attorney General. New York parents should be on the alert for deceptive cannabis products that look like standard snacks and candy but contain dangerously high concentrations of THC. Any New Yorker that has encountered these products should contact my office immediately. How hilarious is that? And here we are, Stonios. Then we got Doritos looking just like regular Doritos. But anyway, full disclosure, there was one incident that fits the bill, but that was nearly 50 years ago when a dad was convicted of murder for lacing pixie sticks with cyanide and putting them in his son's candy. Now, I told you this was going to be kind of a Halloween show. So, since then, the site says only 2 cases somewhat resemble the rumor, although neither case involved in an ill-intentioned neighbor intentionally drugging a child. If the fact that Snopes has yet to find a single instance of Halloween doping doesn't ease your mind, consider that states where pot is legal require the company's license to make edibles use child and tamper-proof packaging, and I can assure you it is tamper-proof. It's actually Wilson-proof. I mean, when I was in Colorado, I had to take a chainsaw to something. Just kidding. Yes, it is better to be safe than sorry, but in this day and age, it's also good to scrutinize warnings as carefully as you do their candy. So, again, it's funny, isn't it? But anyway, let's South Dakota bars medical cannabis companies from advertising. And again, I mean, I don't know if tobacco still advertises. I don't know. Which reminds me, if you guys are in Fargo on Main, I believe there's a billboard that says, this is a sign. Oh, what does it say? Hold on here. I'll find out for you guys right stinking now, because I think you'll appreciate it. Okay, yeah, it's on Main. It goes, this is a sign that you shouldn't drive high. Main on Fargo. That's kind of a witty play on words, isn't it? I mean, and how many people would drive by that and go, you know what? I got to get my life together. That is truly a sign that I got to stop getting high. Hello, 911. Yeah, the sign here just said I should stop being high. So, can you guys come help me out? I mean, how many times do you think that happens? I mean, is it effective? I don't know. I think it's funny, but I personally needed a little something more than a sign to get my life straightened out. And it's quite honestly, it's an invisible thing. I have to just trust in. It isn't even real to feel. You know what I mean? South Dakota lawmakers finalized rules prohibiting advertising of cannabis and eliminating a potency cap on smokable flower. An interim rules committee solidified the half dozen remaining regulations for the medical cannabis program. The state health department drafted nearly 150 rules that the bipartisan committee approved in September, but 6 were sent back for revision. And I think the key here is you pass something, and then 150 rules get drafted. The potency cap for flower came from a proposed rule that sought to ban inhalation of products containing higher THC levels. The committee also finalized a measure that removed doctors from the role of certifying who can home grow cannabis. Previously, the health department wanted to require a medical professional to sign off who could home grow. However, a doctor will still need to be involved if someone wants to grow more than 3 plants at home. Another rule also eases a regulation that would have barred the bulk transfer without prepackaging, out of safety for children, of course. The health department rules will now allow flour to be shipped in a container up to 10 pounds. Wow! The agency is required by South Dakota law to be prepared by November 18th. So there you have it. Now, I want to talk to you about this. This is from Kello. Lawmakers panel moves forward with proposal to legalize adult use cannabis in South Dakota. Now, we know this. And so I'm just going to skim through it. There's a few things I just want to point out a little bit. People who are 21 and older could possess and use cannabis in South Dakota under a measure recommended Wednesday. Now, the vote was 14-10 to endorse the proposed bill, so that's not good. When I had Representative in House Bill 1420, Jason, I mean, when the House voted for it, of course the Senate never voted it through, it was like 2/3 to 1/3, and he said that was pretty good, but it wasn't great. So I can assure you 14-10 in committee ain't great. The package now goes to the executive board for decision on whether it should be introduced in the 2022 session that opens in January. The panel also decided 20-4 to keep South Dakota's medical cannabis program in place rather than repealing it for those 21 and older. See, and I hate that they can do that. The legislators voted 16-8 to recommend that the state government charge a 15% tax between processors, blah, blah, blah. Okay, state and local sales tax also would apply. All right, meanwhile, the South Dakota Supreme Court is considering whether constitutional Amendment A should take effect. Amendment A would legalize cannabis, and again, they're waiting on the judges to determine that. Governor Kristi Noem challenged the validity in the November 2020 election. That day, voters also approved Measure 26 for anyone 70 to 30%, which Noem also opposed but didn't challenge. Now, Representative Hugh Bartels is vice chairman of the panel. He said Wednesday the legislature won't act on the adult use proposal if the Supreme Court rules in favor of Amendment A. Okay. Now, here's what I thought was interesting. Willitson said there's no timetable for the justices to deliver a decision. Quote, it could be next summer. It could be tomorrow. Next summer. Well, why couldn't he have said it could be 3 summers from now? I mean, they could do the Mexico thing. So that was interesting to me, right, when I read it. Willitson said there's no timetable for the justice to deliver a decision. It could be next summer. It could be tomorrow. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what we're doing right now here on KRFF 95.9, Radio Free Fargo.org streaming. So that's crazy. Now, here's another thing. So the adult use proposal would legalize possession of 1 ounce or less. Okay, and then reduce other penalties as a result. So if you have from 1 ounce to 4 ounces, then it would become a Class 2 misdemeanor, 30 days in jail, and a $500 fine. Currently, possession of 2 ounces or less is a Class 1, up to 1 year in jail. Oh, that's currently, yeah. Okay, there would also be penalties for possession for people younger than 21. The proposal wouldn't allow homegrown cannabis, however. Both 2020 ballot measures did. An attempt to allow up to 6 plants failed Wednesday, 8-16. Now, here we go. Here we go again by Representative Rhonda Milstead says, quote, homegrown cannot be regulated. There we go again with this regulation business. I think we failed ourselves as a nation when we had to make a regulation ping pong table. I mean, what do you mean regulation ping pong table? It goes ping and pong. You got 2 paddles and a net. If it's 10 feet, 6 feet, 11 feet, 4 feet. It's ping pong if there's a ball, 2 paddles, and a table. No, maybe it's table tennis. But again, I don't know what libertarians are about. I don't even know. But, I mean, the liberty and pursuit of happiness or whatever couldn't have came with all this regulation. I got to believe that the forefathers had minimal regulation. And I've seen memes where they say, well, you could do this and do that and do this and do that before regulations came into play. Now, Texas upholds Delta 8 THC ban in initial ruling, but the fight isn't over. Texas judge has ruled that the state's ban on hemp products containing more than 0.3% Delta 8 can remain in effect as a legal challenge moves through the process. I don't understand what this means. Now, Delta 8 THC has surged in popularity. The novelty of Delta 8 products has left legal loopholes. DSHS appears to have responded. They're going to allow consumable hemp products that do not exceed 0.3%. Hometown Hero had hoped to get a temporary restraining order against to prevent it from taking action against hemp businesses that sell Delta 8, but now it must wait to see what comes out of next month's follow-up hearing. Because I remember when that, what did I just say, Hometown Hero had got them to allow it. So I don't know. And Louisiana's doing the same thing. So it's interesting to me. Let me see here if I can read a couple more. So here is Attorney General William Tong. He says about Halloween candy, these look-alike cannabis products are unregulated. There we go again. Unsafe and illegal. Accidental cannabis overdose by children are increasing nationwide. No, it isn't. And these products will only make this worse. He's wrong. And that's another thing I noticed. While CT has legalized adult-use cannabis, many of these products fall outside the range of what will ever be safe or authorized for sale. If you see these lookalikes for sale, report them to my office and take every measure to keep these away from your kid. Ridiculous. Here's Attorney General Dave Yost. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the most common overdoses among children nationwide involve ingestion of edible cannabis. That's the goofiest thing ever. Cannabis making their way into trick-or-treat bags, he warned parents. Asked of his office if they've actually heard of this happening. The answer, no. Here's an Ohio attorney also said, is warning Ohioans about illegal, dangerous cannabis edibles and hemp derivatives. See, this is just ridiculous. And he goes in his defense, if this is the year that this trend hits Ohio trick-or-treat and we said nothing, the question from the media would be why we ignored a national trend. See, it's stupid. It really is stupid. And that's all there is to it. Okay, well, that wraps up Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Thanks for listening to me. I'll be up in here next Thursday like I always do, proceeding side stage with Trav, 1 to 3. Right after me here, coming up in mere minutes, Stinky Arts Music Mart. Locals on the 8, Radio Free Madness. Programming on KRFF, LPFM. Radio Free Fargo 95.9 has been underwritten by Flatland Guitar and Luthery. Flatland Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, and Paul Reed Smith guitars and other brands. They sell guitars on consignment, they take trade-ins, and have a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar and Luthery on Facebook or visit them in person at their location at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Again, thanks for listening to me, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, every Thursday. I hope you was informed. I know I informed myself. And we're going to play a little tune right now. Again, to follow in the Halloween theme. Here's Harvester of Constant Sorrow. Yes, sir. Harvester of Constant Sorrow. The Native Howl on Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9. Thank you for joining me, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson's show. 4 to 5, 420, open a big fat bag of cannabis news has come to a screeching halt. I'll be back here next Thursday. Again, before me, side stage with Trav, 1 to 3. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, 4 to 5. Stinky Arts Music Mart after me. Locals on the 8, Radio Madness. Black Ring Ritual wraps up your Thursday. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. Black Cottage Alchemy Products is colloidal silver, body butter, which I'll bring the container back in here so I can start reading stuff off. But it's all local products, alpine hemp, no ingredients you don't recognize, no agamates, flolamates, those PPP numbers, red dye number 4, none of that stuff in there. They're sponsoring this show. You can go to Tochi Products or odd stands in West Fargo. When you're in Tochi Products, sign the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition. Orange Records also has that petition you can sign, as well as a friendly face that Matt will present you with when you're in there. Maybe a bracelet might be in your future as well. Again, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act is a petition pushing cannabis legalization in the state of North Dakota. So if you're with it, get with it. And again, benefit, educate yourself so you can benefit others. Wait a minute, let me start over. Educate yourself so you can educate others on the benefits of cannabis. I'll be back here next Thursday. You come on back as well. It's David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.